We're going to call the meeting to order. If you have a cellular device, please put it in the off or mute position in order to not disturb the conduct of the meeting. Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you will, a roll call. Madam Clerk.
It's tough to hear you.
You can't hear me?
No.
Madam Clerk. Bonnie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading at the same time. Let's see, present are David Hurd, Joan Fonts, Marilyn Jordan, Marilyn Donahue, Larry McDonald, Bonnie Catulli, and Tom Worthen. Absent is Dominic Camerado with one empty chair.
Thank you very much. Any citizens here to speak to the committee? Surprise, no one. At this point, and I'm going to beg the indulgence of the committee, I want to switch some things around. I know CPC has other things they have to get to, so if it's okay with the committee, I'd like to bring them up first to talk about their articles. Everyone okay with that? Okay, you're on.
I do not. I had emailed and hoped. Okay. I have, what is there? Okay. Angie Dunham, CPC Chair, and this is,
Sandy Slavin, CP Treasurer.
we have 3 CPC articles. Oh, sorry. We have 3 CPC articles and 1 Historical Commission article. I don't know if you want to be looking at non-number. Okay. The first CPC article I have is titled, first of 3, CPC Return Funds from Completed Projects. Mrs. Slavin is our treasurer, our honored treasurer. I'm going to have her explain to you.
As we try once every year, go through the particular projects that have been approved at town meeting and see which ones have been closed and the funds are no longer being used. And doing that this year, we came back with 7 projects that have closed and another $28,430.66 being returned to our unallocated fund to be used for future projects. So in the warrant article, you will see that those are the 7 projects that have been closed.
I would like
Any
to-
questions from the committee? Yes, Mrs. Donahue.
Thank you very much, and thank you for making it clear, precise, and easily understandable. And my question is, the projects have closed. Were they all completed? Is this extra excess money after the goals were met?
These are monies in excess of what was approved. All these articles, all these projects have been completed.
The projects have been done.
Yes.
So, and the only ones I really questioned was 5,100 for the Minot Forest Land Survey, and a large amount for the Tremont Nail Roof.
Well, let me wait a second. I'll find.
So I just want to make sure. If you tell me the projects are
They
done.
are completed. What happened is that we asked for a particular amount of money. It comes in under budget, and what's left over is unused.
That's a good thing, so we're taking it and putting it back where we can use it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Worthen.
Sandy, the dates on some of these are sort of,
Yes, some of them are old.
do you have a regular schedule in which you go and check the projects that are outstanding and see where they're at?
We try. It's one of those things that we expect the project to be started within 2 years of approval. If not, then it's reviewed at the CPC meeting to say whether or not it's still active and ongoing. You take a look at the cemetery mapping, looks old, going back to 2004. but we finally had the final expenses to make copies of maps, and that's been completed, so this project can be closed. If you're looking at the old one.
So when you approve funds, is there a clock that starts that they have to start drawing down
It has
those
been
funds?
recommended within 2 years. If not, if you can't do it within 2 years, you come back into the CPC meeting and say.
You get reauthorized?
No, we can't reauthorize, just that we acknowledge that the project is still going on, hasn't been started or hasn't been completed for one reason or another. But the money has been allocated at town meeting, set aside, and can't be used for anything else other than the project it was approved for.
So it's sitting in a bank someplace?
It's sitting in an account.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
In addition to this, at every CPC meeting, we do reports, updates. We have each of our members as liaisons to some of these projects, so they're updated, as well as the CP3 reporting that is mandated by the state for the CPA Act. That needs to be updated by September 15th each year, and that is a record online of where all of our projects stand, and that has to be updated every year or the town doesn't get their allocated monies. So there is a regular procedure where it all has to be transparent.
How much is allocated but unspent is hanging out there right now? I'll get you yet, Sandy.
I have a report from the accounting office of May 2013. We have an ending allocated but not spent of just over 800,000. Allocated but not spent. Well, maybe, no, that's about it.
In addition to this, I have a September 14th, 2013 email here from Judy Luzon, our town accountant, and I will read right to you. It says, articles look good. I checked the balances as of June 30th, 2013, and we agree on the balances.
Well, there's got to be some way that we've got to put a fuse on these things that
Yeah, but that's
can't
a
just
different discussion. This is
I
just.
understand
yeah.
that, but it's, I mean, having that-
Understand,
Huh?
understand. I mean,
It's not
some,
your, I mean, it's not your job to do it, but, and I suppose once it's been approved by the town, it's open-ended, but it just seems like it's,
well, let me give you an example. We have a balance remaining on the town hall roof. We have 200,000 out for the bike path engineering study that hasn't been started.
200,000?
200,000. It was allocated at 50,000 for four particular projects to do the engineering of the bike path. That goes back to spring 2010. That type of thing. I mean, so you have the 50,000 for the Historical Society study, which is honestly will be completed in 2 weeks, but it was done several years ago. It took a while to get who decided who to do the RFP for the Historical Society being in 5013C, or does the town do it? So it was finally done. So it is that type, there are some of those projects that are out there.
I have a financial report here if you'd like to look at it as well that went out at town meeting. It was available at town
Is it-
meeting this spring.
Is it going to go
Updated.
out again at this fall town meeting?
It can.
Okay.
That could be easily done.
Any other questions on the article? None? I think, given what you're talking about, that maybe after town meeting, we'll invite CPC back for another grilling. So if you don't mind. So we're not going to vote on articles, like I said earlier. This is just to go over the articles. We'll mull them, and then we'll discuss that later. We'll probably not vote until next week or the following week. Is that, if that's acceptable with the committee? All right. Article onward.
Article 2 of 3. This is, the proponent of this article is the Wareham Free Library. It's the Nature Explorer Outdoor Classroom Play Area. I believe that Mrs. Medeiros library director came here and did a presentation to you folks already on this.
Yes.
So I will read the article. It says, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from community preservation funds the sum of $7,500 to create a concept plan for a Nature Explore outdoor classroom/play area at the Wareham Free Library, 59 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., or to do or act in any manner relative thereto. And then the explanation of the project, if you'd like. Do you need that as well?
Anyone need that? I mean, I think we covered that earlier with them. No? Any questions on the article? Mrs. Donahue, I know you have a question on this.
I do, but it's actually more procedural, and I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but we're trying to make town meeting be as smooth and efficient as possible. So I just want to confirm that you will be making the motion on this article and then yielding the floor to the library director to
Yes.
present it? Okay, thank you.
I actually recommended that a while back, that the proponents speak for themselves, that they advocate for their own projects.
So you'll make the motion, and then you'll,
No.
Yield the floor to,
No, not really.
Okay.
I don't know yet. We're talking about that tomorrow, but it's my impression that the Finance Committee would make the motions and yield to the proponents.
okay,
But
Okay.
if that's, well, we can have that discussion later, but just to keep one person, it's a long to-do about the accuracy of motions and several things, but we were looking for one person to make motions at town meeting and yield to the proponents.
I see.
okay.
Whatever-
One committee making the motions, or one person doing all the motions,
One person.
not jumping around like you've done in the,
No, ma'am.
okay. So
Okay.
you will not write the motions, you will take the motions that we write and read them.
In this case, we'll take the motions.
Okay.
We'll cover the motions tomorrow to make sure they're acceptable by everybody, but for the other ones, we'll write motions for other articles as well. We won't mess with your motions. They're very nice, by the way.
Oh, well, I was going to say, these have been reviewed by both town council and
Yep.
town moderator, so.
That's why we probably won't touch them at all. We're just a humble committee, and we're just trying to work with everyone. Wait a minute. Before you get into Article 3, what this is just a study. This is not creating the Nature's Classroom, which
Right.
we're aware of. But it sounds to me like it could fit. It says play area, so you have had a playground study, or we've allocated money, or we've approved money at town meeting for a playground study. Is there any chance this fits in it?
This would only include the Aruda playground.
Okay, so this was not, because it's not truly a playground.
The $30,000 that was allocated at last town meeting for the study would only include the Aruda playground being an existing playground. The $30,000 was not set aside to create new play areas. It was just to review and recommend what we do with what we have right now. I think I came up with another few more playgrounds that I didn't know existed. But that study is just to say, what do we have, how can we better use it? Yep.
So the area behind the library is not
It's
designated
not,
as,
it's only the Aruda playground is the only
Okay.
thing being touched with that study.
all right, thank you.
Larry?
Article 3, if you'd like.
Article 3 of 3 for CPC.
And you might want to tell us the rest of the story now, too, as well.
I will
Thank
do
you.
that. This is the multi-service roof restoration. The article says, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund under the category of historic preservation, the sum of $110,000 for a historical preservation restriction and the restoration of the multi-service center roof, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto. That ends the warrant. The explanation. The multi-service center, and gives the address, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., was built in 1909 as the Wareham High School, and an addition was built in 1933. In 1952, it was converted to a middle school and closed in 1991. In June of 1996, it was rehabilitated to house several town agencies, school administrative offices, Veterans Affairs, and Council on the Aging. The roof is leaking, water is damaging the building. The restoration would consist of repairing and replacing the roof with a 30-year roofing system and 3 air conditioning roof units. I called Community Preservation Coalition at the state level. Stuart Saginaw is the director. Stuart Saginaw then referred me to Catherine Roth. She is a CPA lawyer. Catherine Roth responded back to me that the air conditioners can be included because they are vital to the building itself and maintaining the building. And I also have been asked if it was on the State Register of Historic Buildings, and if not, that a letter from the Historical Commission would suffice, deeming it historically significant. I have that letter from the Historical Commission here. I can forward all of that. The documentation that backs up everything that Catherine Roth said to me today is on these 2 documents, which I will forward to you all, so you'll have it to read and review before your next meeting when you vote on these articles. These 2 documents that come from the Community Preservation Coalition back up everything that I'm telling you that Catherine Roth has said, that the air conditioning units can be used, and that she also told me that unless you are purchasing real estate, a stake in real estate on the property that you are advocating for, you don't need a historic preservation restriction. Also, in these documents that I will forward to each and every one of you, I just need your emails. So even though I have said in this article that we are looking for a historic preservation restriction, we will be discussing that with our CPC members and getting back to you on that. So we may be making a revision on that. Again, the documentation will be sent to all of you.
I know this is about to become a hot button topic. I'm looking down the table. I understand that we need to use the air conditioning, and I know you have an opinion on there as well.
Legal opinion today.
All right, so if you want to forward them to the chair, I'll forward them to the committee. But any questions
I will.
or comments at this point on this one before Tom takes off?
And I just have a comment that if you can remove the historic restrictions or that come with it, you're much better off in terms of being able to be flexible as how this building is used in the future.
We'll take that into consideration when CPA meets. We're going to, CPC, excuse me.
Anyone else? Wow, we're quiet tonight. Okay. Onward then, I guess.
Sorry? You're next.
Is there
Oh,
anything
okay.
else?
Larry? Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just one more question, follow-up to the playground study, since you did mention that. What is the status of that study? Because I expect that will come up relative to this article as well.
The draft RFP has come before the Open Space Committee. They've given me approval to continue creating it. I spoke to Mr. Menard today. He's expecting my draft later on in the week. He'll review it. After maintenance reviews it, it will come back to Mr. Sullivan as a draft and consideration for him and legal counsel. So we are very close to completing that RFP.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandy.
In keeping with our jumbling up the agenda tonight, I'm going to jumble it up one more time. And if the committee would like, I would like Mr. Brady to come up. And do you have anything else, or we're done?
I do.
Oh, sorry, never mind, hold on. I'm
Sorry.
backtracking, my bad. Go ahead.
Sorry. I have the Historical Commission article. Okay, the article is titled "The Preservation of Historically Significant Buildings, the Demo Delay Bylaw Revision." The article reads, "To see if the town will vote to amend all references to 50 years in the present Wareham Demolition Delay Bylaw, Article 3, Division 8, to 75 years, and further to add the Demolition Delay Bylaw language to the beginning of the section titled Historic District Act, quote, "Any property requesting demolition that lies within the Wareham Historical Districts shall apply to the Wareham Historical District Commission for a determination and certificate of appropriateness. The Wareham Historical Commission, as regards to these properties, has no jurisdiction and does not issue demolition permits for these said properties, or to take any action relative thereto." The explanation. The buildings that are only 50 years old at this time are not of any historical significance. Demo delay bylaw, the preservation of historically significant buildings, Article 3, Division 8, was approved by the Attorney General on February 25th, 2010.
Any comments, question, or are you still going?
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, I have the original document with me, and you can find that online under the Historical Commission's website.
Anyone? Okay,
Okay?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay? I will forward all those documents to you folks. Okay?
Is it just easier to send it to the?
I will email it to you, and you'll have a link to them. I
Cool.
have one other thing. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I
no
promise, and then I'm done. I'm out of here. The Wareham Community Preservation Coalition is going to have that workshop that I sent out, and I have 2 copies of that information. If anyone is interested in going, I can leave these documents here for you, because I believe there's still time to RSVP to it.
Is that the one that you sent me
September.
the email on?
It is?
I believe at this point it was Mrs. Fonts, and did you get the email as well, Dave? Yes. And you just have to RSVP to them? If anybody else is interested,
What day is it?
It is a week from tomorrow, September 26th at 6 p.m. It is at the Cole Yeaton Senior Center, 10 Wally Kruger Way in Bridgewater, Mass. And it says on-site parking is available. And they do require an RSVP, so that's why I would have to email it to you. But I would leave these documents here so that you can have that link. Okay? I would really encourage you folks to go, because we're all going to be benefiting from that. Thank you.
I think that most of us would like to go, but given the nature of what we're going to have to do over the next month, it's very difficult. But I think that at least a couple of members, and they'll come back and report to us. That'll be great, though. Thank you very
That would
much.
be wonderful. I would truly appreciate it. Thank you.
If I go to that, can I skip Tuesday's meeting?
Always trying to get out of something. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, everybody ready? Everybody ready? Mr. Brady has turned in his application for the Finance Committee, and keeping with our policy, we will interview him at this point. Welcome.
Thank you.
If you could tell us a little bit about your interest, your background, and then field some questions.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bob Brady. I have applied for the vacant seat, or the remaining vacancy, on the Finance Committee, and I feel that I can assist in the efforts of the Finance Committee. Having been in that seat, I served 2 terms on the Finance Committee back in the 80s and 90s. I went on to get elected to the Board of Selectmen. I'm significantly familiar with our Home Rule Charter, our bylaws, together with the many amendments over that period of time. And I had a conversation with Larry. He made me aware that Dave Trudell had resigned, and so I put in my application. I've lived in Wareham since the early 80s. I made a pretty comfortable living for about 15 or 16 years as a real estate sales agent. That together with some good investments both here in Wareham and in the region has afforded me some comfort. Although I still work every day, I own a small business in Wareham. It's a full-service canine kennel up off of Tyhonet Road. I myself breed German Shepherds, raise them, train them. I also board. I also provide daycare, grooming, and training. So it's pretty much 24/7, and I don't know that I'll see a vacation before I die, honest to God. Anyway, I am familiar. I know Proposition 2.5. I know Wareham's budget. I know Wareham's value, real estate value. Accordingly, I believe I could be an asset, would certainly appreciate your consideration, and hope to make some of you push aside to make another seat available. Thank you.
Any questions or? Oh, come on, people. Everybody's not going to sit quiet tonight, are you?
A hard day, Larry.
You want anything?
Why is everyone looking at me? Okay, thank you. Well, no, I'll say it, and I'll start by saying I actually have known Bob since we started in real estate lots and lots of years ago. I respect your experience. I've never questioned your dedication to the town. The concern that I have is your ability to play nice with others. What we have done in the past 3, 4, 5 years here with a very difficult financial situation is to work very hard to achieve some kind of civility on the board, respect for each other, respect for differing opinions, and working very hard to work with other boards and committees in this town. As you're well aware, it was a very dysfunctional political environment in this town not so long ago. And we've now progressed to the point that we can actually have joint meetings and try to make some forward movement. Sadly, we have some very difficult financial situations to overcome, so although we can all sit in the same room and talk about it, we have no magic pills. So I need you to address the personality aspect of how you can get along.
Well, because you've known me as long as you have, there are those that will argue that I could be more tactful. I'll be the first to admit you're right. But I've had the privilege of being a registered voter and only a registered voter, so therefore I get to somewhat speak my piece. If I don't feel as though things are being managed well, or if I feel as though there are guidelines from within the charter and or our bylaws or state law that are not being abided by, then I will be one of the first, if appointed, sitting up there to say, well, that's not the way the law says we should do it, or that's not the way our charter says we should do it. And you can rest assured that that presentation will be civil. Please. On town meeting floor, as a simple resident, I may be accused, and maybe rightfully so, as not having that tact that I could use. Sitting up there professing to be a representative of Wareham, then I wear a different hat. And my record speaks for itself, and you are more than welcome. The data is available from all the years I served, and I was always civil and always respectful. And I'm excited that, as you note, some years ago we didn't have that civility. We do have it today. It's encouraging to see that we're not pitting school against town and administrations against administrations, and accordingly recognizing our financial situation, that has to happen in order for us to be able to go forward, hopefully providing the best services available for the monies we have. Proposition 2.5, for the record, is a double-edged sword. Those communities that have a greater value get to appreciate faster in value because we're using the same component. Sadly, Wareham is one of the lowest valued communities in the region. And so while Bourne or Marion or others are realizing a greater increase because of its value, we get further and further behind when you compare us. I was not a big advocate of 2.5 back when our dear friend Barbara Anderson, pushed for it in probably the late 70s. Don't quote me on the date. It could be 80s. But we, Wareham, have realized the effect of that double-edged sword. And so every single season we go into our budget, I'm seeing witness of that it's more and more difficult, especially when we want to argue on the same hand that, well, the market says we need to pay employees this, and we need to provide this for education, and we need to provide this for minimum services. It's a difficult balancing act, and I certainly can appreciate it. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was no different. You did the best you could with the revenues you had. We need, as a community, in my opinion, to become more creative with how to take best advantage of those valuable assets we have, aside of just real estate. Wareham owns a lot of real estate itself, beaches and so forth, that we could do better to promote and realize better revenues, more revenues. So that should help offset. But I've said enough. Thanks.
Are you done? Nope.
No, I was just going to add, and the final comment is we're also working very hard to put blinders on and only address the issues that we as a finance committee have the right to address, because we all appreciate the kind of comments that you've made, and we've all been sucked into that, well, what if, and these great pet projects, but that's just spinning our wheels. That's not what we can do, so we're focusing on budget and what we can focus on. So, thank you.
Mrs. Catulli, anything?
I'm good.
Mr. Camerano?
No, I think what Marilyn said, basically what... that's all right. Thank you. What Marilyn said, just basically what I would have asked. Sometimes you've come across very argumentative and... but then again, like you said, you had a different hat at town meetings, at town hall, and I appreciate your, your words and what you said. I just, like Marilyn said, we just, wear a different hat up here, and that's all my concern. But I think adjustment or your qualifications speak for themselves. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Worthen? Mr. Hurd?
No, I agree that your qualifications, your experience, and your dedication to the town do speak for themselves. And by the way, if you're not going to bring the same hat, you're going to leave that one at home.
You don't like this one?
Well, I think it's fine. Is that the one you wear at town meeting?
Oh, I wear a different hat every day.
Thank you.
But everyone's clean.
Mrs. Fonz? All right. Oh, boy.
And you're both new members. Welcome.
Yeah.
A lot to learn, huh?
So now you're stuck with me. We are a fairly new committee. As you can see, there's a lot of new faces. Over the last couple of years, we've, instead of keeping a hold of the experience, it's left us. So we're having to struggle not only with new committee members, but new leadership. And I've sat in that seat not too long ago. It feels like yesterday, but it's been a little while. But I sat in that seat too, and I think several people had questions for me. I was a tad bit outspoken, I believe, is that at that point? And okay.
But civil.
No, I was not civil.
You were the mad blogger.
I was
that crazy guy writing in the newspaper.
But I do appreciate the fact that, and it's been stated up here, that when you sit on this committee, we are the finance committee, and whatever anyone says, regardless of what is said out there, is when you you take a personal stand as a member of the Finance Committee, it reflects on the entire committee. So, but again, I've known you a long time. We've had several discussions and probably some pretty loud arguments at times. But I've always found you to be knowledgeable and you do your research. And again, one of the other things Marilyn mentioned, which I think is important, is the focus this year for us has been, because we are new, because we don't have a lot of experiences, to keep within what the charter and the bylaw says and practice more sticking to the procedures and the timelines than it is going outside that right now. We want to bend a little bit, as you can see, the whole, we'll talk about later, as far as the meeting and the articles and the discussions that got a little bit out of whack. But at the same time, our job as a finance committee is to advise town meeting. So we're going to do our best to do that. So I appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I was told not to call Derek a slacker on the air because he's not here tonight, but I did it anyway. Derek did call me earlier. The August numbers will not be ready until next week, so given the fact that we'll get into a minute what we're going to be doing, I told him it really wasn't necessary for him to come here. Although I know there's a couple questions that he was going to answer tonight that he can answer next week at our meeting. So if I apologize that he's not here. It's my fault. He's not really a slacker, but because the numbers weren't ready, I just felt like it was a waste of our time as a committee. So now we're going to get into the fun part. Town meeting, last days to remember is October 9th. That's the last day for us to vote on articles. I suspect, based on the our calendar, that we'll have all the articles, and I'm not checking messages, I'm actually pulling up a calendar. Oh, never mind. No, that's not fair. After our meetings next week, which we'll discuss shortly, I suspect we're going to vote on October 2nd. And that will give us time, and we'll talk a little bit about the advice and how we're going to do that. I think, for the most part, there's only 26 articles, and some of them will probably not require our advice. So we're looking at about 20 articles. So I suspect by the 2nd, we'll have all the articles reviewed and voted on. We'll probably vote August 2nd. We'll review next week, and we'll go from there. And what's the other date? October 11th is the last day to have anything into Kelly for the warrant. So we'll have it in by the 9th. We're not going to wait till the 11th. And we'll review. I know, Kelly, you like to have the advice written to you by email, electronic format, but we'll talk about that shortly. All right, any new business before I go on to telling about the great meetings we've been having?
Huh? What? Huh?
Any new business coming up?
You skipped over B. What's B?
What do you mean? Oh. I'm holding this in front of me, and I'm still not sure if I got an email from Janet Wilson saying that the Board of Selectmen is looking for a representative for the Finance Committee to serve on the Master Plan Committee. And I don't know if anybody's interested in that. I know Mr. Worthen has a copy of the Master Plan from 1998, but we're looking for someone to, and I don't want to say serve, but to represent the Finance Committee on the Master Plan Committee.
When do they meet?
They have not met yet, and I don't believe, Mr. Slavin, I don't believe there's a schedule for them meeting. There's still we just recently lost our planner, which would be part of it, so it's an open-ended contract at this point, if you will. So if anybody's interested, anyone?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
The master plan committee differs from the capital committee in what way? Not just asset way, or can you explain that to me, please?
I'm going to do my best at this point. The Master Plan Committee is to lay out a master plan for this community, not just capital, it's a master plan to grow this community. It's the input from all the different areas, and I believe there are some citizens at large on the committee as well. The idea is, the concept is to lay out a plan for this committee to follow for 10, 15 years to move forward and progress, prosperity, move in that direction. If you haven't seen a copy of the 1998 master plan, I believe I brought some. I might have a couple left. You can get an idea of what a master plan is. It's, instead of throwing things against the wall, Dominic, what we're trying to do is do things in an orderly fashion, have a plan that's long-term for this community.
But capital planning must be a major part of that, correct?
They are a part of it, I believe, capital planning. It's taking from almost everything in town. There'll be people from the planner, there'll be the,
Zoning, and it's incredible.
oh, it's a huge committee. Yes, please, come address. I think I have copies of the 19.
Good evening, Alan.
While you do that, I'll look for the, what else I was looking.
Good evening. Bonnie's hopefully heating up my seat for me.
Doing a good job.
No gas. The Master Plan Committee was originally put together back in probably 1994, 95. It took them 3 years almost to do the plan. This commitment's at least a 2-year commitment, just so you understand. It would be like taking a clean sheet of paper, except here you already have a 98 plan to work with as a base, so it's a lot easier. Should save a year's worth of time. You basically are going to look at every possible function of the town. You may have areas where you're going to look at it and say it's fine the way it is. You may have areas that we need more emphasis in. We may have areas we haven't even looked at yet that you're going to have to look into. It involves every committee, board, commission, every department in the town. It's not just capital planning. It's capital planning, plans for capital infrastructure, et cetera, over a 5-year period. Board of Selectmen, in theory, is supposed to have a 5-year plan as well. Finance committee basically does things a certain way. So this basically opens up everything. Water pollution control facility. What are we going to do now, 5, 10, 20 years from now?
Yeah, this is definitely for one of the newer members that is going to have a little bit of time on the committee. For us old timers, and I feel weird saying that, it's a 2-year commitment.
It's
So,
about a 15-member committee in total.
I'm sure they'll have snacks and drinks there too as well.
Is fire and water part of it?
Everybody.
Good.
This encompasses the entire town. If you've read the 98 one, this is basically what you're looking at, only I think it'll be a little bit more on steroids, because you now have a little bit more to work with than you had at that time in 98. So if anybody's interested in that, boy, I see all the happy faces. I don't think we need anybody tonight, do we?
No. It's going to take probably a month before we settle. The town planner job was posted this past week for a full-time planner, so hopefully within 30 to 60 days we'll have a new planner.
What I think I'm going to do is have the 3 newest members play paper, rock, scissors until somebody drops out.
Actually, Larry, I'd be interested, but I'd need to know what kind of a commitment
It's a
time-wise.
2
Yeah,
years.
Well, no, but I mean, on a
Do you have 2 years left?
monthly, maybe.
Ooh, okay.
They could meet anywhere from once a month. They could meet as much as 2 or 3 times a month. I expect there'll be subcommittees of the actual, because of the number of people for the committee, they'll be off doing their own projects assigned.
It's a first
And
step.
it could be fairly intensive somewhere down the line.
I don't see this as a well-formed plan at this point. That's what the whole point is to get the people together and have them start working and come up with that. So if you're interested as well, that would be great as well.
I may just go as backup, if that makes somebody else feel better, that if we had 2 of us to go. And
Yes, Mr. Cameron.
I know that nothing's really been, that's just, but you believe that they'll be meeting in the evenings or daytimes?
That's going to be up to the committee how it works out for the members and how it works out for the subcommittees. I have a complete course from Holy Cross on master planning that I took several times actually now, and that can be available to the members to look at. It gives you a basic idea. A lot of towns, if they have the funding, will hire a firm to assist. It's not easy. It's not an easy job.
I do have a little interest, but only if they meet at night, you know.
I think they're far from discussing when they're going to meet yet. They haven't even put the, yeah, we haven't put the people together. But it's, if I have interest on the committee, we can, someone wants to let me know they're interested, or I know that Marilyn's now interested, and there's a possibility that she might be hanging around. So that's
Get
a,
excited about it.
I'm getting excited. So here, all right. So that's, just give it some thought, ponder it, as we say, and we'll get back and talk about it. If you have any questions,
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Slavin. Is any new business at this point? Okay, so here we go. On Monday, what did I meet on Monday? I've met so many times this week, I don't even know what I did. I think the big thing is we need to review the articles. What was discussed previously, I think this was before the newest 3 members were on the board, was that we would do the articles as a joint discussion with the Board of Selectmen. We hadn't heard anything, so we put CPC on, and I guess last night at their meeting they decided, wow, what a good idea that would be to have a joint meeting. That way people that were proponents of articles would not have to come back to our meeting and have to go into their meeting. So it was suggested that next week, which on Tuesday night, that we would meet, and I believe, once again, let me check to make sure I have that right. I believe it's 6 o'clock on Tuesday night with the Board of Selectmen. They would bring proponents before to discuss. Now, I don't know what their plan is as far as voting, but our plan is not to vote at that time, but we will have open discussion. They will, Mr. Titlebaum, as the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, will chair the Tuesday night meeting. Then we will, after a discussion with Derek, which I'll have tomorrow, we'll split it up and have some of the articles on Wednesday night, our normal meeting, which I will chair, and the selectmen will be here, hopefully. That's the plan. Anybody have any problem with that so far? I know you're...
I'm not available Tuesdays ever.
I understand that. I understand it. But if we can have the majority of the committee there on Tuesday night, and then Wednesday night we'll have our regular meeting at 6:30, and we'll review the articles. Depending on how much we get through, we may vote that night, but I doubt it. We'll probably wait till the next week. Is any questions or comments on that? Oh, please, Mrs. Jordan.
Where, is it going to be held here in this office? Is it going to be held here? Yes. Okay.
Yes, I suspect they'll put some tables out, and we'll have one microphone among 4 people, which is not always the most comfortable thing, but in the spirit of cooperation, that would be the best thing for the proponents to come before us as a group, as opposed to come before us then go before the Board of Selectmen. And we're really trying to work with the people and the proponents of the art. There's only 26 articles in total. I don't think it should take that long, but it may take 2 nights, which is what I'm thinking at this point. So we'd have a Tuesday night meeting where we would be here at 6, or if that's too early, we can try for 6:30. Yes.
Are they going to do other business, or is it just going to be for the
Interesting
articles?
enough, I believe in the middle of that they have a 7:30 public hearing that they're going to try to do quickly, I understand. So if we get started early, we'll have to take a break for a few minutes while they do the public hearing, and then we're back to it. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. Yes. We're going to have to work on these mics.
I know. Is the school committee also being in attendance at these joint meetings?
Not for this one. Not for town meeting. The people that the proponents have to go before are the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen. I think it would add more confusion to add 5 more people to discussion, especially since they're not voting on it. But we will see the school committee or maybe the superintendent for their article, if I'm correct. So we will see them here, but I would prefer that the school committee is not involved in this. It would just slow down the process. Not that their opinions aren't wonderful, but 5 more people to that equation is a lot of people. Yes.
Is Kelly going to be present Tuesday night as well?
Yes.
Okay, I would just ask that if you could, any handouts and stuff, if you could just package those together so that I can review them later, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
We can even give you a tape of the meeting if you'd like to watch it at home.
I was going to request to participate remotely, but I thought that was going a little too far.
Yes, it is, because we haven't got to that yet. Any other questions? Is everybody okay with Tuesday and Wednesday night next week? All right. Tomorrow, I'm not sure if Marilyn's coming or not, but
I won't know until.
okay. So tomorrow, there is a meeting with Derek Sullivan, the moderator, and town council, myself, and hopefully Marilyn, and I believe the town accountant's going to be involved to write the motions. Someone seems to think it's going to take a great deal of time. There's 20-something articles. I, on the other hand, am thinking it's going to take 2 hours maybe. But that meeting will happen tomorrow, so then we'll have the motions in front of us and ready to hand them off so that we can, or at least we'll look at them as a group, and then we can go from there. They'll be vetted by the town moderator, Derek Sullivan, and town council, so they'll be correct. They're not real difficult, we're hoping.
Are
So,
these all of the articles so far?
have I what?
Are these all of the articles?
This is it.
This is it.
This
Okay.
is it. This was actually given to us by, who was it given to us by? What's the lady's name? Yeah, I think it came from the selectman's office.
Kelly, do you
Yeah.
have these as Word doc?
I'm sorry?
Does this come to you as a Word doc?
I got the paper copy. I will get it as a Word document.
Yeah, I asked for an electronic copy that we could work from. I know that, no?
Wait on for the... Right.
Okay.
Waiting for the
All right.
Right.
Never mind.
The other meeting I had was last night. It was with the group trying to prepare for the budget. And I don't have the timelines now, but I will get that out to you in a format that you can understand. But it looks like one of the big changes is instead of, I believe we had the,
I'm not reading it.
all right,
We're sorry, I'm sorry.
well, one of the big changes is I think we did the finance committee, all the town department heads came before us, I believe it was January. They're going to come before us in November this time. Now, it's very difficult for all of us to get away for an entire day or two. So we're discussing how to best break it up over that week. I think it's November 8th. I don't like this microphone anymore. It's in November.
I'm thinking it's just...
Yeah, it's this week. I think it's the 18th through the 22nd of November that they will appear before us. So that's going to be a big change as well. One of the things that they're working with too is that they have to have a balanced budget on December 15th. But lo and behold, in our charter and bylaws, it also says the school doesn't take a vote on their budget till January 15th. So obviously, one of the things we're looking at is perhaps some charter changes to shore up the actual process a little bit. But I did inform them that town meeting, based on the schedule we have, town meeting begins on election day, and 45 days back, I believe, is like February 19th or 16th, and that they will have to have it to us, everything to us by that date. So that's what we're working towards. And that's going to be another discussion for another day, but I just want to let you update you on what had happened in the last couple days. Lovely meetings. Lovely meetings. Any other new business? Any liaison reports? Wow, did anybody want to come tonight at all, or what?
We're here.
Okay, well then, we need to approve some meeting minutes, so I'll entertain a motion. You want to do them separately?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of August the 24th, 2013.
28th, did you say?
I'm sorry. Yes, August 28th, 2013. I got it.
Motion by Bonnie and seconded by Dom. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 8-0-0. How about September 11th?
I will move the approval of meeting minutes for September 11th, 2013.
Motion by Bonnie and second by Dom. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay, so that's 701. Again, the next meeting we'll have will be next Tuesday, and I'm going to clear it up, but if I haven't heard anybody say 6 o'clock was bad for them. So we'll be here at 6 on Tuesday, and then Wednesday we'll meet again at 6:30, and you're okay with those dates too? Okay. All right. Man, I feel like this is just going quick. Is there anything anybody wants to add at this point?
Larry, just to clarify, in preparation for the meetings next week, I'm not clear, will we get copies of the proposed articles ahead of time?
You have them.
You have a copy.
Just brief description, that's what we're going to get.
You know, I should have covered that because, again, new members, and I didn't know that. This is a copy. This is a very thin copy. This is a copy of all the articles. As we meet, you'll flesh them out with your own thoughts. That's my process that I would go through. We'll have all the proponents of the article, and I think in a lot of cases it will be the town administrator as will be speaking on behalf of the town articles for the most part. After that is done and the articles are all put out there and we've had a chance to consider them, which I'm hoping is probably going to be the week following, we'll vote on each article. And there's two other steps in this process. One is we as a committee have to write advice on articles that have a financial impact, and we can either assign that, or we can, if you're interested in one article, you can do that as well. If it's a very closely contested article, if it's a very close vote, then we'll do a pro and a con on that as well. So we'll have the people write the advice, and we'll have to have all that in by the 9th. Yes, Mrs. Donnelly.
In addition to just the way that we voted, we also like to have an explanation, because you're right, what this is just the article. We're also looking for an explanation, and the proponent or Derek or whoever should provide an explanation to us, which we can then clean up and include in our report to the town.
Right.
So we shouldn't actually be writing the explanation as much as we should be editing it and making sure it makes sense. As Bonnie's pointed out, some of these don't even make sense to us, so we have to be able to explain them on town meeting floor. So this is giving us, the way we're doing it this year, gives us a little more time to get together with those explanations and hear what this is all about and try to make it legal and work, but also clear and concise.
I think we were probably spoiled because of CPC. When they came in, they had one-page
Well, everyone's supposed to
definition.
have that, the article and the explanation.
And the explanation,
and the
so we
reasons
need that
for.
in order to
Yeah.
make an
And then
informed
we-
decision.
And then
We
we have
actually
our
have
debate.
those.
Yeah, and then we have our debate, and then we decide whether we agree with that explanation, what our concerns are. We may vote a majority in favor of it, but still have reservations for a certain reason. And I think that's part of what our job is to convey that.
Okay, so we actually have the explanations. It's not in this package. What we probably will do is have those ready for us next week. But that's what they're doing. They're coming, they're coming forward to explain their articles, but it is nice to have it on paper. I'll agree with that. And it helps part of the decision process as well. So yeah, we'll have the explanations next week. We'll be working from those. I know, Bonnie, you're not gonna be here Tuesday, correct? Okay. So I'll need an acting clerk pro temp, whatever that is. All right, any other questions, any other updates from anyone? Do I need to do anything for you for that meeting for the CPC, or I forwarded you the email? I know I've got you covered, but you, Mr. Hurd.
I think we're covered on that.
All right, so the next meeting is Tuesday, what is Tuesday? The 24th at 6 p.m. So that's set. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
See you next time.